So mom calls me up, and mom tells me dad is sick. Dad's in the hospital. I need to come home. I said, well, how much time do I have, mom? And she said, well, his diabetes is acting up, and his feet are real bad. His eyes are real bad. He's having a real rough time. It's almost acting sometimes like he don't remember the people that are closest to him. And I said, I can't just pack up and leave, mom. So he's got some time though, right? And she says, yeah, he's gonna be in the hospital for a little while. It's not like he's passing away or anything like that. He's just having a real rough time, and I'd like you to be home to be here for the family and stuff like that. And I've been working at another dealership down south, and I went into the office and I said, hey guys, I'm gonna have to give you a 30-day notice. My father's sick. He's in the hospital. My mom wants me to come home and take care of him and stuff like that, help her. She needs me. And they understood. Well, they said they understood. This is when the 1.5 liter EcoBoost first started becoming apparent that there was coolant intrusion issues. And basically what that is coolant is getting out of the cylinder, or the coolant jacket next to the cylinder, and it's bleeding over into the cylinder itself from the jacket. What they do is they have cylinder block, and then you got your four pistons, and then they cut a relief up through the center of the piston, and it ends up at a little small dot right in the center of the cylinder head, or a little dot in between those cylinders. So coolant goes up through there, and it gets up into that little dot, and it's a pretty long, wide passage. You know, it's about the thickness of one of your cutoff blades, and there's no TSB or anything out at the time. It was fairly new, and I'm tearing this engine down, trying to get to the bottom of what's going on. And to me, I thought it was just a head gasket issue. So I get the cylinder head ripped off, all nuts and bolts and baggies and stuff labeled and everything. And I find out payday, when all the parts come in and stuff like that and everything's ready to start going back together, the owner of the establishment tells me I'm going to be let go. Well, why? I give you a 30-day notice. I'm staying around. I'm the only certified technician in the shop. I mean, there's another guy that's got some certifications, but I'm the only fully Ford certified technician in the shop. I gave you 30 days so you can find another guy to replace me. It's ample amount of time. Well, it's really not, because there's not a lot of guys down here that go to school the length that you have, that have all the certifications that you do. Well, it's not my problem. I mean, I'm sorry. Well, if you leave, that means we lose certifications, and I can't have that. And I said, well, if you're letting me go now, yeah. I said, well, I'll go in there and I'll collect my paycheck. And when we get off the phone, I go in there to collect my paycheck to the payroll gal. I said, hey, can I have my paycheck? I was just let go. And she says, well, the owners told me you're not going to get a paycheck. It's okay. Go into the parts office. Go to my shelf with all my parts, grab my coolant, all my gaskets, all my new bolts, the head gasket, everything. Take it all out to my bench. Grab all my personal items, lock my toolboxes up, take everything out to the truck, put everything in the truck, and drive home. The next day I show back up. I've got a U-Haul with me. Roll all my toolboxes and stuff up into the back of the U-Haul. It's kind of hard doing it too. Heavy ass toolboxes. Roll everything back into the U-Haul, strap it all down, and I leave. I go back to the house, continue loading everything up at the house, everything that's going on. You know, I'm trying to get ready to move. Last minute responsibilities before I move out. Let the landlord know what's going on. Pay the additional month's rent because I'm leaving early, so I honored my contract. And I felt bad for her. It's a cheap place. I lived on a farm, 400 acres with quarter horses. I lived out in the back of the corner, and it was a trailer that they had turned into a home. They built a back den and stuff on it. They built another bedroom on it. They built a full wraparound porch with a wider living room addition, huge central AC system. There was right behind the house. There's about a 8 to 10 foot drop off where there's a big creek that runs through there. It's where all the water is relieved in that area, right into that creek. So there's always like fish and stuff in there. The dog loved it. I walk out of my front porch and just look right across my grass, and there's fenced-in area with nothing but quarter horses and stuff just running and playing and stuff. They have 6 to 8 horses on that piece of property on that side where I live all the time. And to get onto the property, you'd have to drive through a big iron-piped entrance, and it had the family name across it. And then you drive through all this gravel all the way to the back, and then you hang a right, drive through the horse pastures and stuff all the way back into the trees, and that's where my home was. It was surreal. It's gorgeous. The sunsets, the storms that would roll in, you could stand on your front porch and you could just see everything just come right at you. It was just amazing. It would flood quite a bit. There was times where it would rain real bad. I'd walk out of the house and I'd be up to the bottom of my shoes to where the cloth would start in water because how much water would come onto that property. So I'm getting ready to leave. This is 5-6 days later or something like that, roughly. It's been a while. I get a phone call. Hey, the new mechanic started and he's going to start putting his motor back together. Where's the head gasket, the valve cover gaskets, the bolts, and everything else? I don't know what you're talking about. Well, all the stuff was here and it's gone now. And this guy, he's never really worked on these motors before. He's been always a diesel mechanic. He's new to this small bore stuff. And I said, you mean the coolant and the valve cover gasket, the head gasket, and everything was on the parts shelf, and then all the nuts and bolts and stuff that were in the car? Yeah, where's all that stuff at? I mean, you want it back? You gonna pay me? My paycheck? Yeah, I mean, we want it back, but no, you're not getting paid. Oh, well, then I guess I have no reason to talk to you right now then, do I? What? I mean, that's our stuff. That's my paycheck. I worked 2 weeks. That's $2,400 you owe me. Well, it's $2,400 doesn't, that doesn't equal the parts you. Well, then how about this? I give your parts back, $500-$600 worth of parts, and you give me we'll talk, we'll negotiate, and you give me the $1,600 to $1,800 paycheck. No, it's not going to work that way. I guess you're not going to get your parts in. Come on, man. You don't have to be. Oh, you don't have to be this way. I give you a month notice, and I give you an ample amount of time. I was more than fair, and you're going to screw me over and hold my paycheck? That's fine. I'm not going to give your stuff back. Well, got off the phone. I go to the labor board in town and tell them everything that's going on. They said, actually, there's nothing that we can do. We can't make them pay what your contract stated, but federally, we do have to make them pay the amount of hours that you were clocked in times minimum wage. They have to pay that. It's not an option. So I kept my mouth shut. I realized there's nothing that they could actually make them do, and there was no way that they were going to pay other than just measly $400 or $500 or whatever it was, $600. And there's a lot of times where technicians forget to actually clock in on the payroll side of things. And I was like, man, I've been there for 100 hours the last 2 weeks, and I wasn't clocked in on all of that. And she said, well, that's kind of your own fault. You need to make sure you clock in when you get to work. Even though you make a certain salary wage or money per hour, you have to make sure that you're clocked in on the payroll side, so when things like this do happen, we can make sure at least at minimum wage you get paid for everything that you were there. So the amount of time that you were clocked in is all that we can actually make them pay you for. It's okay, so nothing's going to get done here. A couple weeks pass by. I get a call from one of the other guys in the shop that continued to talk to me and send me messages. He said, you know what they ended up having to do, right? I said, no. So that guy didn't know how to put that motor in, and they fired him. They ended up having to get a long block, take that vehicle to another Ford dealer, and have that Ford dealer install that motor in that vehicle because the people that they were hiring were no good. And that guy was no good. You were the only thing that we had that was worth a shit. So, $4,000 engine, $2,200 paycheck, $400, $500, $600 in parts, and now everybody in town knows what kind of sleazebag you are. So that's my story, but here's something that I'll throw at the mechanics that watch this channel. This is what happens when you give a notice when you work for a shop. When you give a notice, they can fire you at any time. And there's no law from any state that actually stops them from not paying you. Technically, all they really have to pay you in the court of law is minimum wage times the amount of hours you were clocked in. Your contract is between you and that employer, or civil court, which means that comes out of your pocket as well. Good luck getting that money back. So you're going to pay more for a lawyer And you're going to pay more in time and stuff that you give away going to court on situations like this than what your paycheck was actually worth. That's why I will never give a notice working at a dealership or a shop before I quit. I will never, ever, ever, ever. Just because there's nothing that protects us as technicians. To get paid, what we have written down on that paper is a contract between you and that person, not federally. Federally, they can only make minimum wage happen. They cannot make them pay what you agreed to and what was on that paper. You have to hire your own lawyer for that, and good luck getting that money back that you're paying that lawyer, unless he's good enough to roll all that in, and chances are that's not going to happen. So when it's time for me to go, it's time for me to go. Collect my paycheck, bye-bye. That's how it works. Y'all be blessed.